Formula One and Son. I'm Tom, and I don't have Oscar with me today. I'm here in Singapore for the Singapore Grand Prix, and I'm here with my brother Peter. Peter, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks, Tom. Welcome. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's hot and humid as you'd expect here in Singapore. We're recording this on Sunday morning, so after qualifying, before the race, just coming up to lunchtime, local time here in Singapore. And Pete, what a day we've had yesterday. We got in late on Friday night, so didn't get down for the FP1 and 2 sessions. Heard them though. We're at a hotel that overlooks the track basically, so that was good. And then yesterday, we got into the track and got to check out a whole bunch of stuff, supporting races and obviously FP3 and quali. What was your impression of the Singapore GP, Pete?
Yeah, look, it's been amazing. I love a street circuit, and I think Singapore's a great city to host a Formula One in. Amazing track layout. And
have you been to other Grand Prix?
I've been to Melbourne, so
you live in Melbourne, right? So you get to that one regularly.
A Melbourne boy, yeah. I'm often down at Albert Park, but I think being in the middle of the city for a Grand Prix, so you're walking between restaurants and places to eat and other areas, and then straight into the Formula One is amazing. Plus, I love the nighttime feel of it.
Yeah, that night race thing is just phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, you beat the heat, and we saw some amazing what do they call them? Support races beforehand, and and then when the lights come on, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's so much to do at the track, and it's such a great facility. Loads of people, lots of concerts, things going on all day long. We watched Gwen Stefani last night, which was fantastic. Chili Peppers are on tonight after the race.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the racing. Yeah, you don't often, if you're not at a Grand Prix, you don't cover the support races too much. Unless the Formula 2 is on or the Formula 3, they're not on here in Singapore. So you have the Ferrari, do they call it the Ferrari Challenge?
Yeah, Ferrari Challenge, Asia Pacific.
And the Carrera Cup, Asia Pacific. So that's interesting. Ferraris are basically rich boys in their toys, semi-professional.
Yep.
But good racing still, good to watch. And then the Carrera Cup stuff is professional racing car drivers, by and large. So different, they're faster. Really good races to watch. We had access to a particular zone. I think it was Zone 4 yesterday.
That's
down,
right.
Yeah, and that was the Stamford Grandstand down near the Padang area, which is where all the big concerts happen. So lots of people around there. And then today we'll be down on the pit straight for the race proper. But then we got into the FP sessions, and what was surprising throughout practice, I think for most people, is Ferrari were looking quick this weekend. So the expectation was Mercedes are probably going to be up there, and let's be honest, Verstappen probably more than Albon is still getting his feet. But that hasn't really turned out to be the case. The Ferraris bought some upgrades. They've always struggled with the high downforce circuits. We saw them, obviously, Charles Leclerc pole and win in Spa and Monza. Great results. But there was an expectation they'd struggle here. But that's not the case. They've been on the pace, both Vettel and Leclerc, all weekend, holding Mercedes' feet to the fire. And actually, Red Bull probably haven't quite been there. Verstappen didn't have a lot of clean runs through the early practice sessions. But then when we hit quali, it certainly looked like Ferraris were going to be there or thereabouts, and that turned out to be the case. Through the early qualifying sessions, we didn't see massively big scalps. Probably Kvyat was probably the big scalp that didn't make it through to Q2.
Was Raikkonen in doubt, seriously, in Q3, and he just scraped in?
Yeah, he scraped in through to in Q2, like Q1 into Q2. He didn't make Q3. But, he was struggling, but then did a good lap. Magnussen just scraped in as well.
Yeah, that's right.
The Haas is, once again, looking garbage. We should comment, actually, some interesting driver news in the week coming up to this. Grosjean re-signed for Haas. Surprising a lot of people, because Hulkenberg was slated for that seat. Most people thought that was the case. Obviously, Ocon's been given the other Renault seat now for next year. Hulkenberg's out, so without a seat, people thought he'd go to Haas. But they re-signed Grosjean. Well, that's an interesting question. Alpha's probably the obvious choice now if Giovinazzi doesn't get re-signed. But Gio has done a good job the last couple of weekends. In fact, he out-qualified Raikkonen again just here. So, who knows where Hulkenberg will end up. Stroll obviously didn't make it through. we shouldn't say obviously. Bad qualifier. Perez had a really good quali as well. I think he's P11, which is the ideal position because you have free choice of tyres. Promoted to P10. Peter, tell me why he's promoted to P10.
Well, look, this is something we didn't discover until just this morning about our favourite man, Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, did a really good job last night qualifying in P8.
Yep. Out-qualifying Hulkenberg and beating him in the head-to-head challenge for the year.
Yeah.
The first time since Hulkenberg's been beaten since his rookie year in 2010.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So. But we found out this morning that there was a technicality that in one of the corners in Q1 on one of his slowest laps, he, 0.001 of a second... duration, he was...
I think it was actually 0.0001 of a second.
So
his MGUK over-revved basically by hitting a bump and exceeded its power output level, which is regulated by, I think it's 160 horsepower by the FIA.
And, that picks up on red flags on someone's data analytics somewhere, and there you go. He's disqualified, not counted for the
disqualified from the session. So confirmation though that he can still race.
That's nice
because of course if you
FIA,
don't qualify, well, if you don't qualify, I mean, it's qualifying to race, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you remember things like the 107% rule, but it's been many, many years. I think it wasn't. You're going back to the HRT days, if you remember them. Someone actually couldn't start a race for being disqualified. So he gets to start from the back of the grid. We were discussing earlier today whether that means he'll have free choice of tyres. Now he hasn't been qualified, so I think so. But of course, we saw Kimi Räikkönen, who did qualify for Q3 in Spa, then take a penalty start from the pit lane. Thought the Alphas thought they could have a free choice of tyres, started him on a different tyre, and then got a penalty during the race, a harsh one too, I think. Right. So I think though Ricciardo being not counted will be able to start on whatever tyre he wants, and that could lead to a counter strategy where he starts on the hards. For example, and runs really long. We know Ricciardo's good on tyre management, so and Singapore's pretty high deg, so degradation will be a factor during the race. So maybe there's a chance for him, but I would be very surprised if he can get into the points. It'd be a great result. So, then through Q2, no surprises really. We basically ended up with the Mercedes, the Ferraris, the Red Bulls, which you kind of expect. Albon started to improve. He was a bit scrappy early in qualifying.
The McLarens were doing really well.
Yeah, McLarens and then the Renaults basically is what it looked like, and then everyone else behind that. So, and that turned out to be the case. But we get into Q3, and what an exciting scrap for is it going to be Leclerc, Vettel, Hamilton was looking racy. You thought maybe Verstappen could pull something out of the bag, but wasn't to be. Vettel, of course, first blood in the first runs in Q3. Did a cracker of a lap, was quite ahead of everyone else, actually.
And very much a crowd favourite here in Singapore. A lot of support for Vettel.
A lot of support.
Compared to Leclerc,
it seemed like it was popular that Leclerc got pole as well. But you're right, every time Vettel kind of put it up there, maybe just Ferrari fans.
Yeah.
Good to see.
It is one of his favourite tracks too, isn't it?
Yeah. He's won equal number of times. He's won with Hamilton. Both have won 4 times, I think, maybe. Obviously, Hamilton's won the last couple. And lots of Albon support. We were behind a contingent in the grandstand of Thai people, obviously, supporting Albon, which was great to see. So good. And he had a pretty decent quali. He came P6 in the end, probably where he expected to. I think he's still not quite up there with Verstappen level. But good quali from him. But so Vettel first blood, and then everyone goes out for their last runs of the day. And I think at this point it was a Ferrari 1-2, Vettel and Leclerc, with probably then Hamilton. No, I think then Verstappen actually, and then Hamilton Bottas, something like that. But they all go out on their last laps, and Vettel's looking good. Then Leclerc just goes up and lights it on fire.
Just that. And by a lot. Most of them didn't really move around from between Q2 and Q3.
That's right. Not a lot of improvements, really. And not a lot of improvements in the second runs in Q3 either. So I think Ricciardo might have improved and then pipped Hulkenberg. Norris had a bad Q3 because he was looking racy.
He was looking really good.
But I think he made some mistake. He only did a 138. Well, I say a 138.3. Frankly, that's less than a tenth behind Hulkenberg. But they were both about a quarter of a second off Ricciardo. So, and then Sainz, though, like all season, quite achiever. P7, actually almost a couple of tenths up on Ricciardo. Having a great weekend, actually, Sainz. So he'll be interesting. Albon did all right, but he was, frankly, a 137.4 as opposed to Verstappen on a 136.8, so 6 tenths behind his teammate. So I've heard that Ricciardo was that far behind Verstappen last year in Singapore, so maybe it's not that bad. But yeah, then at the front, Leclerc just lit it up. Just put together this mega lap.
Showing his talent, isn't he? He's really 3 in a row. So
yeah, 3 poles in a row. Will he make it 3 wins in a row?
Yeah, what's your prediction for the race?
Look, it's hard. I don't like to say it, but my money's probably on Hamilton. Yeah. I think, although Ferraris have good race pace, if Leclerc can keep in front of him through T1, he's probably got it.
Is it a race where, depending on the first, second corner, whoever's out in front kind of holds their position unless there's pit stop strategy?
Yeah, hard to overtake in Singapore. They've added an extra DRS zone this year, so 3 DRS zones. Maybe that provides an opportunity. But I would expect, we saw this in even the supporting races, right, where they don't actually have DRS, to be fair, because they don't have opening rear wings in the Porsches or the Ferraris. Hard to overtake. You weren't seeing a lot of overtaking. No. It required a mistake from the other person. But it is a track where it's 2 hours. It's a long race. It's hot and humid.
Those walls are pretty close. You know, we saw a lot of kisses of the walls in quali.
Yeah, we saw, Checo hit it hard, and I think Vettel hit it hard on his... one of his runs. Yeah. Leclerc made, he actually touched it briefly on his pole lap.
Yeah, there's a few touches.
Yeah, it was oversteery. So, yeah, we could see mistakes. I think strategy, undercuts, could come into it. So when they come in off their first stint, who blinks first and comes in for the next set of tyres, and who compromises that to get the undercut, but then maybe will struggle with tyre longevity towards the end of the race and might be vulnerable. That's going to be interesting. Alternate strategy people at the back. So you've got, Perez is going to have free choice of tyres, and Ricciardo, of course. Maybe he'll come into the fray, not to challenge the front runners, of course, but in the mid-tier. So, yeah, so it could be an interesting race. We'll be on the pit straight for the start of it. So if we had a start like we saw a couple of years ago where the Ferraris got sandwiched Verstappen and everyone went off, that'd be a good place to be sitting for the race. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But my money's probably on Hamilton. Wouldn't surprise me if Verstappen gets on the podium, Vettel spins or does something stupid, Leclerc's up on the podium. So my podium, Vettel not there. So Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc podium.
Okay.
The question for me is what order? Probably between Leclerc and Hamilton for first or second, Verstappen third, and Vettel, Bottas bringing up, and Albon maybe up there. But what do you reckon? What's yours? What's your podium?
Look, I think Vettel's got a really good chance. I think he's trying to redeem himself after a few bad races, and he needs to prove that he's still a top guy at Ferrari, and he likes the track. So
you reckon he can do
Vettel,
it? He's in third. Yeah. He can do something from there. If he keeps his head.
Yeah, exactly. You know? So I'm going to Vettel, Hamilton, and maybe a Verstappen.
You reckon Leclerc's going to drop off?
Yeah, something. I think he might have an incident with the wall or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Leclerc and Hamilton could come together. We saw some bad blood in Monza, right? Yeah. Where Hamilton was pretty cheesed off. Leclerc got that black and white flag, got squeezed. Maybe Hamilton's view about getting squeezed is he's going to put the squeeze back on Leclerc at the beginning of the race. Yep. The interesting thing for the rest of the season as well is if Ferrari really have worked out their low downforce issues, they've won the last 2 races on pole here in Singapore. The back end of the season could be on now. We thought Mercedes probably still going to win because they've got a big advantage.
Yeah, they're way ahead.
But if we can see a Ferrari resurgence at the back end of the season rather than Ferrari flopping at the back end of the season, which we saw last year, that'd be fantastic just for the spectacle.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good stuff. Okay, well, that's us here in Singapore for your quali review. And the race is on tonight. Starts at 8 p.m. local time, so it's a late one. There's a few supporting races before that. Pete and I are going to go watch some of that. Check out the Chili Peppers afterwards. Probably going to record a post-race review with Oscar, who's very upset that he's not here in Singapore.
Sorry,
with
Oscar.
Us. Yeah, so Formula One and brother today, but Formula One and son with Oscar will be back for a post-race review. We'll probably record that Tuesday local time in the United States, where we'll be back and publish that sometime there. So that's your lot from your post-quali review here in Singapore from Formula One and son and brother.
Thanks.